Launching a business can take you on a journey unlike any other, filled with anticipation, uncertainty, and the constant search for answers. You're never quite sure what's coming next, which is why it helps to have a partner that does. Plan for the future of your business with the bank trusted by 50% of US-based, venture-backed tech and life science companies. Silicon Valley Bank, built for what's next.
Hello and welcome. For those of you who virtually haven't met me yet, I'm Rami Barnitsky and I'm a partner at Sapphire Ventures. Welcome to our second day of our 2020 CIO Summit. Today, we're talking about the rapid shifts in the post-pandemic workplace and the accelerated pressures that businesses have in order to transform digitally. And it goes without saying that the cloud continues to be one of the greatest levers for global enterprises to enable this transformation. Back in July of this year, two industry giants came together. Deutsche Bank, the German banking giant, and Google Cloud have agreed to join forces and form a strategic partnership that aims to redefine how the bank develops and offers its financial services running on the Google Cloud platform. To talk about this journey and some of the lessons learned along the way, I'm joined today by the two architects of this partnership. First, Gil Perez, who is Deutsche Bank's Group Head of Innovation and Strategy, and Rob Enslin, who is the President of Google Cloud. Gil and Rob, thanks so much for joining us and welcome to the summit. So I guess my first question would be just if you could just give us a 2-minute overview from your vantage point of this partnership and what it means to your respective organization.
So thank you. First of all, thank you for giving us the opportunity here to speak and share some of our thoughts. Obviously, there's multiple aspects to this partnership, but I'll try to summarize it into three categories. The first one is value to our clients. So we think that we strongly believe that for us to continue to be to serve our clients and customers globally, we need to modernize our technology infrastructure to be a lot more adaptive, to be a lot more agile, and to be able to address their needs. And so a big part of this transformation is really driven by that need. The second thing is our internal cultural transformation. Deutsche Bank needs to obviously transform from just a banking company to a technology-led banking company. And lastly, you cannot do this alone. In this current environment, you need to open up, you need to co-innovate, you need to collaborate, and we view the cloud, APIs, open architectures as a key enabler to making that happen. So those would be kind of the three key elements from our perspective.
Thank you. Rob?
Thanks, and Rami, from our side, it's an actual honor for us to partner with Deutsche Bank, one of the world's financial service institutions that's a leader in the financial services institution, and actually has stated that they want to actually transform the bank and where the bank's headed around digital transformation. And as Gil mentioned, not only will we bring forward our technology and our technology platform, but we'll also innovate with the bank around certain things that financial service institutions will want to do in the future. So not only are we bringing our technology, the banks can also bring some of their thinking around where they want financial services to go in the future, but we'll innovate together and we'll also help transform the bank into a true software technology leader in financial services. So for us, it's a genuine honor to work with them.
Fantastic. So let me double click on some of the discussion points here. First, I'll push you a little bit and talk about the fact that implementing such a global change in the cloud for for a traditional bank like Deutsche Bank and Google partnering with Deutsche Bank does not go without some challenges. So from your perspective, what are some of the biggest challenges that you've had to confront, whether they're cultural, strategic, or technical, in getting these two very different organizations to come together and achieving this very ambitious goal? And maybe Rob, I'll start with you.
Yeah, from the very beginning, thanks, Rami. From the very beginning, it was very clear that Christian Sewing and the Deutsche Bank Management Board and Executive Board was behind this transformation. So for us, that was first and foremost a very, very important fact. Second was that the bank really wanted to look at how the bank can change into a technology provider. And when you think about financial service institutions and where they're going to be in the future, it's all around personalization. It's going to move from branch into personalization. And Google brings together many assets in that space where we have knowledge of personalization, we have knowledge of consumers and how we can bring that into the bank. Plus, as we look to innovate in the future, it's going to be around data and how data, AI, and ML is brought forward. Now, you asked the question, how do we know? We've actually worked together for the past 4 to 5 months very closely. We've had almost 100 people working with Deutsche Bank to work through how do we actually go through this? How do we understand cloud native technologies? How do we actually partner together? That's also including the banking leaders, the financial service leaders, the IT folks, the technology folks working together. So we're very comfortable that our cultures match. We're very comfortable that the executive team at Deutsche Bank want to transform, and the technologies we're bringing forward are really important for both companies. As well as on the Alphabet Google side, Sundar and Ruth have been engaged as well. So both companies view this as very, very, very strategic for both companies.
So Gil, on that vein, what were some of your consideration in choosing GCP as your platform?
So from our perspective, the key aspect, as Rob just mentioned, was the total commitment of Google and Alphabet to this partnership. And I would say that it was definitely an exceptional level of interaction and involvement, starting from the top all the way down to the individual engineers and data scientists and people on the ground, DevOps, etc. And what was unique about what we did is that we wanted that kind of an excitement to actually cascade down to the organization, and we created multiple work streams and individual teams that worked together. And the resounding feedback we got from everybody was, a huge endorsement of the Google team, as well as their technology. So it's not about only the technology, but it's also about the cultural fit and the chemistry that teams have together. And I think, putting together our banking know-how in regulatory affairs and in global banking systems, payments, rails, etc., with the Google deep understanding of machine learning, AI, data, is just creating a magical moments. And I think we have a lot to be excited about and looking forward to our partnership.
Terrific. So Rob, there are those who say that hyperscalers and cloud platforms are in effect a utility, or I dare say the word commodity, of running future clouds. How do you guys think about that, and how do you differentiate vis-a-vis the competition and in terms of the various layers of the stack, whether it's the app or any other layer in the stack?
Yeah, Rami. Look, first of all, I think the cloud is proven coming through COVID that the flexibility and scalability of the cloud allows significant differentiation and allows companies to do things that they couldn't do before, and the business models could change. So that's just kind of a statement out there. Where we are focused is really trying to understand how we take technology, unbelievable technology that has evolved over 20 plus years with consumers, and bring that to the enterprise as well with traditional companies. So when you look at financial services, taking a leader like Deutsche Bank and Alphabet and coming together and then thinking of how we can actually change the industry is how we believe we need to differentiate. How can we help companies solve really complex problems in their industry that allows them to differentiate and do that with great leaders like Deutsche Bank. We're doing that across financial services, retail, consumer, manufacturing, all of these industries. And it's typically a little bit different than digital natives who really understand Kubernetes and Istio and Service Mesh and how that all comes together. We're talking about traditional companies that have traditional business models that are moving into the digital age. And this is why this partnership is so important. And this is how we at Google Cloud believe we will differentiate ourselves in the future.
And Rami, may I just add to what Rob said right now? I think he highlighted a very important topic. You know, we have to go through a transformation of our own individual employees, of our culture, and it's not just providing us great technology tools. We do need support and assistance to kind of, I would say, gradually mature and be comfortable with it. And what was unique about the Google partnership is that they didn't throw the technology over the fence and said, hey, we've got the greatest tools, just use them. They were really, Google consultants, the entire team basically rolled up their sleeves and are walking us and helping us really do this transformation. So that is the key. It's not only about the technology, it is about the ability also to deploy it and to enable Deutsche Bank or any customer to actually utilize it.
Thank you. So the theme today is redefining the post-pandemic workplace. And whenever post-pandemic is, I guess now we're in what they call the new normal until we're out of it. But there are many processes and different underlying sort of like undercurrents that are taking place right now in the industry that have been accelerated because of COVID. Good, bad, or ugly. When you started this partnership, it was pre-COVID. What do you see now being accelerated as a result of COVID? And I want to generalize this question. Don't just talk about this partnership, but from the bank's perspective, from Google's perspective, what are the changes, the fundamental changes that you see changing the workplace and the marketplace from your perspective, and how are you guys getting ready for it? Gil, maybe we'll start with you.
Sure. I'll try to also look at it from employee, partners, and customer perspective. So with clear examples, let me start off with customers first of all. For us, the biggest change was just going paperless. In the bank, there's a lot of paper. The need, and specifically in Europe, to sign everything on a paper document significantly had impact on it, including archiving, scanning. It has a ripple effect on a lot of topics. And one of the biggest issues was obviously the regulators. So COVID in a swoop kind of completely accelerated that. And now we can really think about end-to-end processes which are paperless, which has huge implication on speed, on efficiencies, etc. Second thing, I would talk about our partners and specifically collaboration tools. We had to evolve the suite of collaboration tools that we had. If before we were able to say, you know what, we have just a single collaboration platform and we have to use that because of compliance and regulatory, again, reasons and security. Obviously, COVID created a situation that, if you keep that, you're not able to react or respond or be business viable. So that enabled us to now really open up a lot of new collaboration platforms. And I would highlight the Google Meets, G Docs, and G Drive that were actually essential, were the foundation for us doing this LOI and were used throughout our collaboration. And without them, we wouldn't have been here today. And lastly, it's the cultural employees of before you would have asked, they wouldn't have thought of working from home. Today, we did some surveys and 80% of our employee base are willing to, work from home to some extent. So that is a huge shift for us from a cultural and willingness of the employees to work from home.
And I think it speaks volumes that Deutsche Bank has hired their chief innovation officer who was working out of Los Gatos, California. So I think that's a message all by itself. Rob, how do you think about that in terms of your strategy, your product roadmap?
Yeah, let me add a little bit to it. First of all, Deutsche Bank was the last customer visit I actually did. So it's very interesting. The partnership actually happened pre and post COVID. And as Gil said, we managed it very effectively. But what I think, just to add to it, what I think is really going to change and how things have evolved. First, we've proven that we can work from home in a relatively short period of time. I think pre-COVID would have probably taken a company, a project, maybe 10% of the company. They would have taken 9 months to figure out if they could do it. And literally we've moved it forward within 24 hours. Everybody's at home. This is how you're going to interact. I think what we're seeing is, as Gil said, the whole concept of paper disappearing, right? It's really around how do we actually process now in real time. We've seen document AI become a really important thing. How do you connect call centers, social chat connections really fast? But the other thing, I think how we service our customers is really different. It's very different today. If we look at the projects that we're running right now, I think we're much more effective. We don't use as many people. We're able to use the skill sets on almost on an on-demand basis because people are available or accessible much easier. So I think we can move things a lot faster. What we saw going through COVID was, first the work from home scenario, then how do we get people educated, governments, public sector, kind of getting our municipalities, cities and states running effectively, running through manpower, unemployment, labor type environments. And then the thing which probably surprised everybody is what we call stage 3, is where companies said we can accelerate what we're doing because we have an opportunity now, or we have to accelerate what we're doing because the market has changed on us dramatically. You just think about social, streaming, media. I mean, media has changed completely in the last 6 months. And so those types of environments, those types of industries have radically changed. Plus, I would also add, if you look at manufacturing, we had single accountability with global supply chains, right? Industries shut down when COVID happened. Why? Because they didn't have business continuity at a level they needed to be able to deal with a pandemic. That will not happen again. And so you see manufacturing changing. You see the way we look at manufacturing completely different from 6 months ago. As I said earlier, financial service institutions really focused on personalization. Why? Because they're going to interact with us differently. I do, however, wish that we have an opportunity to go back and visit companies and actually get a little bit of social, because I think there's that element is definitely missing. But I think we're highly more productive. We've proven we can do things at scale and shape industries faster. And I think we just got to figure out, as we move forward, how do we take the best of what we've learned and actually bring that into a new world as we move forward.
That's great. And actually tomorrow we're hosting the Chief Digital Officer of Moderna. So we'll have a chance to hear about how that's going, because I think this is going to be vital and critical for all of us on a variety of fronts.
The other thing which I think most people don't realize is kind of just many companies became essential companies according to government thing. Previously they did soda pop. They actually distributed soda. All of a sudden their distribution skills were actually needed to distribute something else, right? Certain levels of food became essential for survival. We saw e-commerce companies needing the scalability to actually, sell 13 times more than they sold the previous day because of demand. And how do they scale up for that kind of demand? So we've seen all kinds of reasons or ways, opportunities that have come about because of this. And we will not go back to where we were. But I think, we've probably moved from a technology point of view, from a digital transformation point of view, we have probably moved forward 5 years at least in how companies think about shaping and how technology will help companies shape the future and certainly change industries for good.
And I would just add to this on a very specific European banking perspective. A consumer is obviously, how do we look at touchless payments and obviously digital money? So those are, with the concerns around COVID and everything around touching things and money, obviously we've seen a significant surge in usage of those two, of digital money as well as touchless payments, which obviously is a one-way street. There's no going back.
Thank you. Rob, how do you view this transformation in terms of responsibility for providing the underlying solutions between you guys versus application vendors, traditional application vendors, whether it's Salesforce, SAP, or Oracle, TikTok?
Yeah,
Sorry.
that was not on my question and answer list, but I'll answer it anyway, Rami. Look, I think transaction-based companies provide really important mission-critical systems that operate these companies today. There's no doubt in my mind what SAP does is very, very important, not only for an economy, but for most companies as well. And they'll continue to innovate and do things at that level. Where we can really help is how do we use AI and ML, bring the AI and ML, which we have, very deep skills, and how do we augment that? So an example is, if you look at shop floor systems today, we are able to bring visual inspection actually into the shop floor, change and improve those processes. If you look at core banking and financial services, we don't plan to do core banking solutions. We're not a transaction-based company. It's not part of the DNA. But we certainly can use federated machine learning, where we have deep knowledge and deep skill sets and understanding data patterns, and how we can solve those problems. So I think together with those companies, we actually add tremendous value to customers, and that's where we'll continue to think through how we innovate in those environments. Plus, when you look at where the world kind of changed, I mean, there are different business models happening right now. We have a lot of strength in streaming, in understanding networks, in understanding content around networks and how to utilize, so we can bring more technology to play. And some of the alphabet technologies that have been around for many years, maps, search, those have tremendous benefits. Satellites have tremendous benefits for the enterprise as well, in terms of forecasting. How do you do forecasting? How do you know whether a shop is open, whether they will open, what times have changed, and so on. We are able to provide that information into transaction-based companies, which certainly will help the customers in the future.
Thank you, Rob. And Gil, my last question is to you, and it's maybe a bit more personal. You've been an entrepreneur and executive in the Valley for years, and now you're a leader at a traditional European bank. What are some of the lessons or capabilities or best practices you brought with you to the bank that you feel has made a difference in terms of the bank and its culture?
So I'm just 9 months in the bank, so I don't think that I've made yet a significant mark on the bank. We're still
this partnership alone is a fantastic mark.
Well, we're just at the beginning. So a mark is when you're done or when you've accomplished, not when you sign a contract. It's when you actually show ROI, new revenue streams, etc. So
now you speak like an entrepreneur. I love it.
Yes. So just that's the first comment. The second comment is that I do think that Deutsche Bank specifically is now in this transformation, moving into an in-source and technology-led understanding, philosophy, mandate, etc., and having that kind of integrated mindset throughout everything that you do, to believe that you can go faster, that you have a muscle memory that could actually beat the startups, the fintechs, that you could leverage your scale, that they're not cool, you're as cool as they are, and actually you have a lot more levers to kind of use. I think that understanding is not prevalent in the bank, and I think the bank, as well as many other incumbent companies, have a long tradition, and they're there not because because they've managed to survive, specifically Deutsche Bank, 150 years. So to achieve that, it's not a fluke. You have a lot of hard work, a lot of very talented people, and I think the bank just needs a bit of its mojo back, and we'll be back and stronger than ever.
Thank you. And before we conclude, Rob, we've done a lot of work in the firm, partnering with some of your team on understanding the Google Cloud Marketplace. And Gil mentioned some of the fintechs and the smaller companies out there What role do you see for them innovating on the platform, and how are you guys enabling that?
Yeah, and that's a very good point. Look, we see that as becoming more and more important. Actually, for many companies now, it's kind of an evolution of technology. We've partnered. You can see on the marketplace, but we've partnered with many companies from Salesforce and SAP, Workday. You mentioned them earlier, but also Splunk and Mongo, and bringing them onto the workplace. Companies that are building or running their solutions on Google Cloud want to have access to those technologies as well. We also see, significant, obviously, not only in the startup, but actually in the digital native community where they're actually adding value. And so that's becoming a big part of what we're doing in the marketplace. We see expanding that actually, and actually bringing even more technology forward in that way. The one culture with Google is we're an open source culture in our company. So we want to bring companies, even if they have certain products that compete with us, that's fine. Well, companies get choice and they get it to run on the world's best infrastructure or the world's best network. So we're delighted to have them join our ecosystem.
So Gil, Rob, this has been a hugely instructive conversation, and I know that both the CIOs and the startup entrepreneurs in the audience have surely gained a lot from this dialogue. So I want to thank you both.
Thank you, Rami.
Thank you, Rami. My pleasure.